You will be the first to see this car. What an honor.
Hi.
Hello, looks like new, everything is original. When professionals, the research and restoration department, and the restorers themselves get involved, it becomes beautiful. How long did it take you to complete the car? Because I know that it came to you in a sad state.
Due to the lack of Polish spare parts, this particular machine, during operation in Soviet times and in the 90s, was so modernized that as many as 50 to 60% of the entire machine here were already replaced with Soviet parts. A lot has been replaced.
Motor, bridge, it goes without saying.
The box and various lighting fixtures, even the instrument panel was from the 130th CIL, and wiring too.
Where did you buy everything? Where did you bring it from?
A whole list on 4 sheets. We ordered them from Poland. It's good that there are such cars in Poland. For us, they took such a car for analysis, removed all the necessary parts, loaded it into a container and brought it here. It took about a month.
Believe it or not, there was a variety of transport in the USSR, and foreign cars were actively used in our country, especially in the construction industry. But not like you might think. For the most part, these were socialist foreign cars from countries that at that time were part of an organization called CMEA, the Council for Mutual Economic Assistance. The main supplier, of course, was the German Democratic Republic with its cargo IFAs, but other countries were not far behind. The Polish People's Republic mainly produced vehicles for the domestic market. But the Star Company sold its equipment to Hungary and the USSR. But what are we all talking about others? Let's talk about our Star. The dawn of automotive production in Poland fell on the second half of the 50s. For several years, many companies, based on pre-war European and post-war Soviet developments, began to produce their cars. Here we have a car of the very dawn, the so-called golden era of the Polish automotive industry, Star 28. This is essentially a transitional model from Star 25 to the 200 series. Everything new was first tested on this truck and then put on a novelty. They were even released in parallel for some time. A bit of history. The Star 28 model began to be produced back in 1968 in the small Polish town of Starakołos. We must give them their due. The Polish designers and engineers in this case improved their own design as much as they had the strength and need for this. But at the same time, they did not shy away from buying licensed solutions in bourgeois Europe. A cab-over truck, this became the corporate identity of the company, which was followed from the very first to the very last car. But when creating this car, they had to cooperate with the French. So to speak, cram something European into the car. Happened. The Schuss firm was at that time very popular in Europe, collaborating with Renault and Peugeot. It was engaged in the production of city buses for European cities. The company died in 2000, but that's another story. But with this story, everything goes according to the classics and begins with a frame structure. The chassis is the same as everywhere else, but I emphasize once again that this is a Polish development without the participation of an older brother. And the front beam is here on the springs. The beam is 2T, packs of springs on 10 pieces. Also, there are shock absorbers in front, which are not available on the rear suspension, which is absolutely common for trucks. The rear axle itself, of course, is also on springs. The fuel tank hung on the left, on the right, the balloon receiver. If you look under the bottom, then the picture is absolutely standard, a cardan shaft with an intermediate support installed in a transverse amplifier. What else is there? You can also see the transmission brake down there. It is there. There is a receiver tank and a gear pump. As I said, the French helped the Poles with the cabin and appearance. This is the very rare case when cooperation between Poland and France turned out to be successful, and not as always. The stamped panels were welded together, creating a recognizable look for many years. Under the grill of the radiator is hidden a radiator, logically, but I did not open it to you for this purpose. And to explain to you that there are rails here. Yes, the rails, conditionally rails. The fact is that here the cabin does not lean forward, as, for example, on Kamaz or MAZ. And in order to remove the engine, you must first unscrew the bumper, unscrew the engine mounts, and along the side rails, along the frame, as if on rails, the engine is pulled forward. A controversial decision, and not very convenient. Such a decision was on many socialist European machines. Well, they know better. What do we have here? And here, under the hatch, a filler neck and a motor cleaners are hidden. It is quite comfortable to sit down. There is a lot of space, but first I will open the engine. In principle, if you remove everything, then getting to it, to the engine, for maintenance, will not be difficult. Pretty easy. It's like I'm under a roof. So, it's diesel. Now the riddle, what is the difference between star 28 and star 29? Answered? Answer, engine. There is petrol. I'll make a reservation right away. I already mentioned that the 28th was constantly improved. Technical solutions were tested on it, which then migrated to the 200th series. Well, this engine is from the 200th. Star 359M engine. What are its characteristics? Inline, 6-cylinder unit with direct injection pump. There is no turbine. Volume 415 cubic inches. Power 150 horsepower at 2,800 RPM. Torque 432 newtons at 1,800 per minute. It has overseas roots. In 1967, the Poles bought a license from Leland. The compressor on the brake system is clearly visible, and there are also separate lids for every two pots, but this will not surprise us anymore. And you can probably surprise with a generator drive. It is both belt-driven and through a pulley. Even the cover is original, look. The felt. The cabin itself is spacious and bright, panoramic glass. When designing, much attention was paid to the comfort of the driver. In the first place, the cabin is noise and dust-proof. There is a heater, blowing windshield. And then there's the glove box. Supply ventilation from above, see under the visor? The air ducts are open. Light bulb. Here, next to the right, is a mass. Handbrake, tension-type handbrake. At least let's go. And here, power takeoff shaft drive lever. According to the dashboard on the panel, it is sparse here, fuel, water, and pressure in the systems. Just listen to the doors close here. Sorry. Foreign car. Do you think it doesn't look stylish? No, this is not so. This shelf is also factory made. To be honest, everything is done quite inelegantly, but at the same time neatly. Yeah. By the way, the washer reservoir. Here hangs a heating pad from VAZ 2101 and from Fiat. Steering wheel, divine. Like on a bus, by the way. Another thing you can surprise. The starting voltage is 24 volts and the onboard voltage is 12. That is, the engine will start from two 24-volt batteries. There is a relay there. And more. Mass is a plus. That is, a plus comes to the body, and not a minus, as we are used to. And look at how elegantly made dampers that block the flow of air to the windshield. Well, look, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's the same there. And what about the weight and payload of this Polish truck? The diesel engine is traction, and since it is designed for heavier equipment, you can get underway almost from third gear. The weight of this Star 28 is a little over 4 tons, and the carrying capacity was 5. But since this is special equipment and the platform itself weighs 1070 tons, the carrying capacity was increased by strengthening the springs, and now the carrying capacity is more than 7 tons. Unexpectedly, but there is no amplifier at all. Generally. Well, that is, it is normal to control it in motion, but if you want to turn around while standing, you will have to make a lot of effort. Not everything is clear with the pedals. Tight. The braking system is double circuit with pneumatic booster. That is, the compressor pumps air into the receiver, and it helps to put pressure on the brake fluid. It turns out so-so, but the car slows down predictably. By the way, the brake system has licensed American roots, Westinghouse Company, and the steering, by the way, is foreign. Once upon a time there was. Now a little about the gearbox. Pretty standard, a 5-speed gearbox, the gears are synchronized. What a review, what a beauty. If you want, you can look back. Windows are available. As befits a truck from the past, it is unhurried. This is evidenced by the speedometer, lined up to 60 miles per hour. This is real fantasy. 50 miles is its maximum, and then on a good road, for which the truck was designed. On a good road and an appetite is good, it eats 8 to 10 gallons per 100 miles, which, you will agree, is simply great. This star is from the 80s. According to legend, it was brought to Moscow for an exhibition, but it did not go back home. And all its life it worked in the municipal services of Moscow. By the way, here is a photo. The Moscow Transport Museum remembers everything. If you compare this car with our gluttons, you can understand why the drivers loved the stars. Quite unexpectedly, there were actually a lot of them in the USSR, but most often they came in the form of a chassis for special equipment. And our Star 28 has a chassis for a crane, called Star A28, and it's time for us to open this chassis. Why do I want to open this chassis? Place your bets. When you get out, you always cling to the wing. As a result, the pants are dirty, and the paint on the wing is worn out. Safety is above everything. Have you seen how cool this thing is? This is a fuel gauge from an old tank, from ZIL. It needs to be put in the neck like this, and this is how it is determined. And here are the marks, 20 gallons and so on. But I open the place where the control mechanisms of the legs are hidden. Let's figure it out. Front paws on both sides. These are short front levers. In the sense of short levers, this is the front paws. And the long ones are back. On the basis of Star, S25 truck tractors with a D40 semi-trailer were produced, which were used to transport furniture. The B25 rear and 3 V25 dump trucks with 3-way unloading were also produced. Various vans, tanks, and fire trucks. We have a Boomer P183 installation. Exactly the same installations were installed on our domestic cars, for example, on the ZIL 130. It turned out something like socialist cooperation. Now the company is called Bümer-Kasselen, and it was founded in 1945. For more than 30 years, this company has been producing mobile assembly hoists. Initially, the company was engaged in the repair of cars, then Bümer began to produce specialized bodies, such as concrete mixers, basket lifts, lift trucks on the Star chassis, buses, tankers, and more. It has a weight capacity of over 650 pounds, which means it can handle me. We will take off to a height of 60 feet, well, about 60 feet to be exact. See the cradle on the insulators? This ensures the safe operation of electricians under voltage up to 10 kilowatts. Yes, it's better to tie yourself up. 60 feet is the height of a 5-story building. Of course, we will not climb 60 feet, because to be honest, I will be very scared. Although I am already scared from wrapping myself with some kind of Indian belt. But as they say, better safe than sorry. And they have fun. They are happy, but I am scared. Wow, oh my gosh. Well, it's not scary yet. It's like, you know, like a broken Ferris wheel. As always, I have not told and shown everything, but there is good news. The Museum of Transport of Moscow is beginning to materialize in space. First interesting exhibitions at VDNKH in Pavilion 26 and other venues. And very soon, in 2023, on Novorossiyskaya Street you will be able to see almost the entire collection of the museum's historical vehicles. Well, and of course to learn more about Star 28. Well, the attraction is so-so. I don't understand how people worked in these cradles. It shakes from side to side due to a long lever. Time to go down. That's it, Peter, that's enough. Let me down, Peter. Well, of course I wasn't scared. I was just trying to add more drama to make it more interesting for you, so to speak, add a little extreme. In my life I am afraid of only two things, my wife and the Soviet police. The Soviet police are no more, but I'm afraid. Just imagine 250 copies of passenger cars, trucks, buses, and other vehicles. Can't believe it. But this is a fact. In short, it will be a great hunt.